for me. All right, now I'm going to go.
I'm European. I could get away with it.
You can get away with it. Okay, we are now live, but now Instagram is not. Oh, there we go. Look at that. Hold on. It's a little bit. Okay, we are live. Hello, everybody. This is Eric Mishy with Save, here with three of my favorite people, Maddie Bogle and Lady Gamega with Save&Raid, and we are here today. This is kind of our first chance to kind of debrief publicly about what was an extraordinary event here in 2025 with this year's Save&Raid event. It was absolutely incredible. And so I want to first start out by saying thank you to all of you for putting that together. I had the opportunity to go out and hang out at Maddie's house for 2 or 3 days and hang out with his lovely partner and bride and dog, who you now will have to share about the new addition to your family. It was an incredible opportunity for us at Save to be involved with a great event. And so with that, you know what, Maddie, I'm going to have you kind of kick it off and introduce the team here, and we'll start the conversation.
Sure. Yeah. Hey, I'm RDM Havoc, or Maddie. I am the creator of Save&Raid that I co-founded with Bearded Bogle, who is probably right below me, depending on what the sort order is. And Lady Gamega down in the corner is, well, she helps with various things, but one of her big jobs is organizing the schedule for the weekend-long event.
It's kind of important. Hi, I'm Bearded Bogle, and I used to do that, so I'm very happy LGG is here because it is kind of important and it's a massive job. I basically started at the same time. Like our chum had the idea, and I jumped in and we organized the first event 4 years ago now.
It was just you, me, and Radgrid at the time.
I think so. Yeah, Rad came in a little
Seek
later first. Seek was there also, yeah. And then 22 other people, I think. And now we've just blown up, and this year was the biggest one yet.
Yep.
Yeah, that's me.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lady Gamega. I have been doing the schedule now the last 2 years with Save&Raid, and I do some communications things as well. But I've been very blessed to be on the leadership team for Save&Raid and being a part of this event since its inception. So,
yeah, I think that's how we met. I think we met like a month or two earlier. We met through our chum, probably. Yeah.
Yes, we definitely met through Artium, and then I think Save&Raid kind of bonded everybody.
Oh yeah, oh for sure, yeah.
Absolutely. That is the beautiful thing. Is we got
has been doing that for a while now. Yeah, absolutely.
If we had this nice little community, then everybody's bonds got strengthened by it through Save&Raid, which has been wonderful.
Well, ours certainly did. So it was a great opportunity for us and to come out and get to meet you all in person, and it was great to have Bogle fly across the big water and get a chance to meet everybody in person. And
yeah, that was amazing.
Before we kind of go much further, let's kind of remind people what Save&Raid is, how it got started, and then let's jump in and talk a little bit about this year's event.
Sure. So Save&Raid is a community event that was born out of the idea that it was really hard to self-promote on Twitch. So we created an event where we could all self-promote each other together by raiding into each other's channels at every hour. But we made that more complicated by all playing the same video game and then passing along the save files, hence the save part of Save&Raid. So the audience gets to watch a single video game get played, or a series of video games where the progress they get to view it played by different streamers, different styles, different characters across Twitch. We then connected with Suicide Awareness Voices of Education because it was a wonderful opportunity to raise some money and do something good. And it all fell into place there. Even the wording was beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, that was completely coincidental, but it worked.
It was.
Well. Yeah, and we landed on Save because it's it's something that we all really cared about, and we were impressed with the work that they were doing. And we started with Save the first time we did this, and we never left. The collaboration has been amazing, and we loved working with everyone there. So we stuck with them basically. Yeah.
Well, you did indeed, and I will share with folks that prior to this is most of my interaction and understanding of things like Twitch and online streaming all came from my kids who are now 23 and 21, and so it was a great opportunity for me to get a better understanding, not just how the technology works, but also the community that's really connected with this online streaming community. And so when Jen Owens and I, who is our director of programs, had the opportunity to be with you all live and in person, and to see all of the folks that were playing this year, it was really an extraordinary opportunity to see, first of all, just how much time and effort and work you all put into this. The logistics, the planning, the pre-planning, making sure that the game that you're going to choose is a game that works to do the format that you want to have, the work and effort that you all put into it to make sure that the game follows safe messaging guidelines as much as possible, really is amazing. And to think that all of this is done by volunteers who spend countless hours and really is truly a gift to all of us at Save. And so I am eager and anxious to learn about next year's thinking, but at the moment we're going to kind of talk about this year's event before we get too far ahead. So who wants to kind of give the 35,000 foot view of how many players, how many hours?
Oh, is it stat time?
All of that kind of stuff.
I love statistics.
Vogel's
There
the
you
stat
go.
guy.
Stats.
So this year we grouped together a total of 59 streamers to stream for 62 hours because there was some overlap and we had some interesting interview
Which
sections.
is a massive jump from the previous year.
Yes, yeah. So just in case you don't know, we started out year 1 with 24 hours. Year 2 and 3 were 48 hours, and 62 is a big leap. But it was definitely worthwhile. As of yet, actually, I say that I actually closed the campaign this morning because I forgot to do it in April when I said I would do it, which was good because there were actually some donations still coming in. Like the last donation was from June the 3rd, I think, which is awesome. So in total, we raised 26,185, and fact checkers out there might realize that is a different number that is on the website. That is because there was around $400 donation coming in from someone's work that didn't go directly into our Tiltify campaign, but it did go to Save. So I'm counting that, even though technically the website can't count it. So $26,185 raised this year, which brings our complete total very, very close. I think we're about 1,000, maybe 1,500 away from 60,000 lifetime, which is pretty amazing. And what I noticed actually looking at these stats today was that we actually raised a little over $1,000, $1,060, I think, after the event ended, which had never, we'd raised some money after the event ended, but not this much. Which
not in the way that it was this year, for sure.
No, for sure. Which is, from what I've heard, funnily enough, partly due to your hairdresser. Right?
Oh, yeah. Part of that was my hairdresser, yes.
Which is very fun.
Yeah, and I remember when we were first discussing this previous event, we were like, okay, we'll do the 48 hours, but do you think we might need to do longer? Well, let's leave it open and see how many applications come in. And then we were like, oh yeah, we're going to have to do later. It's going to have to go longer. Yeah. So it was fun to see the response that we got, like a little trickle in, and then all of a sudden it's like all these people, but then it just didn't stop. So we were like, okay, I guess we're going longer this year.
There's always that moment right when we put out the application where it's like, 2-3 people that were paying attention fill it out, and we're like, oh man, maybe nobody wants to do it this year.
Yeah.
There's always that every year. You would think we would learn, because every year we're like nervous and we think like, oh, is this gonna be the one where we, I don't know, don't raise as much, or people aren't as interested, and it just keeps growing.
Yeah.
I always like reminding ourselves of the fact that we thought on year one we might raise $500 because we didn't know what we were doing, and I mean, you could argue that we still don't, but I think we're getting better at it. So
Well, I think you undersell yourself when you say you might still not know what you're doing. I mean, it's clearly you know what you're doing, and again, as I prefaced at the beginning, the amount of time and effort and planning that goes into this. So we've got a date set for 2025, but talk a little bit about when does the actual planning and discussion, what does it mean when you start the planning and discussion for each year? Because this isn't as simple as just going, hey, we're going to play Half-Life this year.
Mm-hmm.
There's more involved in it than just saying, throw a dart on a board and say that's the game we're going to play.
No, so we start planning, like the hard planning starts in
soon
September. Yeah, so it's almost
August,
time.
September, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it starts in September, and we do like a serious postmortem. We go back and reread everything that we talked about in our organizational channel. And we, look at notes that we pin for ourselves, and we just kind of figure out what needs to change, if anything, what we can improve on, what we can add. And really the biggest things for the last 2 years is what we can add. We were working out of basically a spreadsheet for a while, and now we have a fully functioning website with a back end that participants can use for all their resources. So we've moved away from some of the, frankly, not good tools that we had, like trying to use a chat room to pin and highlight things that people needed to know, to having like a permanent place.
Yeah, finding a better way to communicate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, the last couple of years have been a huge amount of work getting stuff like that ready. And, you mentioned like how much work we put into it. I won't say that we're not transparent, but there is, if it looks like everything just goes smooth and we're just, having an easy time of it, that means we're doing a really good job.
Yeah.
Because there's just so much conversation and so many things that pop up that, we don't always share.
Yeah, and part of that, I think a large chunk of that is our own fault, because the way that this event is set up, it doesn't exactly make it easy on us, right? Like you talked, Eric, a little bit about like putting in the work to make sure that the game, that we select to play, that works for the event, and that has to be done on so many levels, because obviously, in terms of theming and how it relates to certain things that have to do with save and suicide awareness and prevention, that is important. So we need to make sure that we're not making mistakes there. But just because we're like raiding and we have to share these save files, so that the technical side of how a game kind of works in the back end from like a saving perspective and sharing, all of that needs to be figured out beforehand.
It's worth noting, when September hits, we have an idea for 3 games. So we have to do all of that testing and all of that observation of what the content of the game is for 3 games.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was going to say technically planning begins the day after the previous event, but it's sort of a light planning in the sense that we set up a poll for a variety of different genres and video game series and see what participants and viewers and people that are involved with the event, what they would like to see. And then out of that will come, we haven't gotten there yet, but like will come these 3 options that we need to test.
We also take into account like ease of use for all of the people who are participating. So there's some that maybe have a disability that are like, hey, maybe we could consider these types of games for those of us that have disabilities, or sometimes there's brand new streamers who join our group, and they may need a little like help along the way to figure out how to do all of these things. So it's really us like planning on how to make it like the easiest event possible for the participant. Like we got your back. Like we'll just give you step by steps and hold your hand. And that's like a lot of what we think about as well.
Yeah, and if we have a brand new streamer that's joining the event and they're struggling on something, trust me, we are paying attention, and that is going into everything we do in the next couple of years. So especially because I mean we don't really point that out. We don't point that out ever, and we're never going to call anybody out if they're struggling, getting something to work out. But we're trying to figure out how to put that into our instructions that year even.
It's a good learning experience for us, because like now we're so far away from being a new streamer that we don't remember what it was like.
Mm-hmm.
And like all these new tools come out. So it keeps us close to how it was being the new person and like what that feels like.
Yeah, as a streamer, but also as a Save and Raid participant, because
Right.
I mean, one of the few things that I really like about how we set up applications and try to entice newer people to join as well is that we do have a dedicated group of streamers who've been with us for like all 4 years, or maybe 3 of the 4 years, and they keep coming back, and that's great. But I do like that we consciously want to have like a section of our participants be newer streamers that haven't actually joined before, and that also helps. Their experience helps us not get bogged down into this like, okay, everybody knows what they're doing, so we're ignoring things when it comes to planning. So that's really useful.
Well, and I suspect, kind of a side note, I mean, I suspect that given the success that you had this year and the number of people who watch it, you're probably going to get a lot more people who want to participate. And so I'll let you guys figure out how you're going to deal with that demand. But the idea that you talk about how do you support the gamers, how do you support the streamers, you have a support like team set up during the whole event. I think there was a phone number you had set up. I mean, it really is an elaborate process, and so I think people need to understand that the amount of care and tending that goes into this, as you said, starts well before the event. The game process of looking at those games, figuring out what the right games are. I'm now an expert at understanding how much of an expert I'm not at things like Half-Life. But it is a lot more challenging and complicated than just simply going on Twitch and suddenly starting up and learning how to play. So there's a lot of effort that goes into this thing.
Which you now have experience in.
Yeah, you sell yourself short. You were great. You started the event off, and we could tell that you had practiced.
Well, not only that, but Eric's also streaming on the Save 2024 channel.
Yep.
Yeah, and I mean, it was important for us, and it still is we want to make sure that we have the opportunity. Toasty, you did get to watch me. I think you may have helped me out get through a couple of scenarios there too as I was playing. So, so talk a little bit then about you've got these players, right? All these streamers. Each one of them has like little incentives or ways that they try to engage people to play. Talk a little bit about that, because I will say that Jen and I were blown away by some of the creativity. We were a little troubled by some of the ideas. Some of the things people did. There were some uncomfortable moments, but most of it was all generally fairly family friendly.
I think at this point it is tradition that there needs to be at least one streamer every year that makes someone from Save a little bit nervous.
Well,
every year.
Nervous.
Yeah.
It's been 3 years since the nipple clothespin accident.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I was thinking the exact same thing. Yes. that will remain with me for the rest of my life, probably. That was year one, and our chum and I were just talking to each other while that was happening. Like, ooh. Anyway, yeah. I mean, we motivate participants and to a lesser degree force, in the sense that we have some requirements from participants if they want to participate, and one of those is that they need to think about donation incentives and milestones, and we put that to them as a way to, you know, increase the usefulness or the success of the money raising aspect of Save and Raid. But it also definitely just makes the event so much more fun, right? Regardless of whether or not it raises X amount of money or more or less than if they hadn't done it. Every hour where a new streamer comes in, plays the video game, does their stream in their way, because that's a big part of Save and Raid, is that they showcase how their stream works. But these incentives and these things that they do, maybe not every stream, but definitely for Save and Raid, just makes the event so much more fun to watch, and that is possibly even more relevant than, you know, the $10 that someone donates just to make someone do a weird thing.
Right.
So the way that we do that is, at this point we have a lot of experience in what works and what might not work, so we can tell people, we can give them ideas to build on and to sort of create, to inspire their own creativity to see what works for their own stream. Like, we're not forcing anyone to, like, you have to do this weird thing for money. It all comes from everyone, and I am every year sort of almost blown away by not just the creativity, but also the willingness of people to step out of their comfort zone a little bit and, you know, be an internet idiot for a good cause. And it's wonderful.
I agree. Some of the stuff that people come up with, like, I would never have thought about. Like, Tinderly put the whipped cream on the camera, and the cat, like, ate the whipped cream off the camera. It was cat kisses. That sticks out to me. Nerdwire had the music, like, continuously speed up every time a donation happened. Like, that was really funny. We had
Guitar Hero guitars.
The Guitar Hero guitars being played. That was really funny. Cotessio smoothie. I mean, like, all these different, like, interesting things, and they really make it more than just like, oh, if you donate $5, like, you know, I'll say this funny thing. Like, it's way more involved, and they just get very, very creative in their own way.
Yeah.
So why do you suppose people want to do this? Why do they want to participate in this event? I mean, you all had a vision and an idea of something you wanted to do. So you clearly understand what your mission and purpose is and was behind it. So why do you suppose you had that many people reach out this year and what will likely be even more for next year and say, hey, we want to sign up and be a part of this?
You know, from that exact question, I've never really thought about it.
My job is to come up.
Okay. I mean, I think there's definitely going to be, like, a lot of different reasons. You know,
that's
the
what I was going to say
huge.
Too.
You know, the community working together, that's huge. Yeah, Bo, you go ahead, take it away.
Well, so what I think is beautiful about it is that there is no one reason, right?
Yeah.
I think in the beginning, people flock to it, besides the fact that, you know, we really had to go out and ask people, like, hey, could you please join this? We know it's a weird thing, but
that's really important too. Is the first year it was like this unknown, and people were really nervous about it, and they were like, I don't know if that'll work, or you know, I guess I'll go help Maddie, you know, with this thing he's trying to do, and then it's never been like that again.
Mm-hmm.
No, but I do think it's still a little bit part of it. There's just a long list of reasons. Like, yes, suicide prevention is incredibly important to a lot of our friends and our contacts in sort of the streaming world. Mental health awareness is as well. It is a big part of why more than a few of us are even streaming in the first place. So that is, like, Save being part of the reason why we do this is definitely a part of it. but there are some maybe less altruistic reasons as well, right? Like this is, besides raising money for Save and putting a spotlight on suicide awareness and the spreading of information, it is also what Maddie also said, like there's a reason for this that is, I'm trying to find the words.
It's a way to self-promote and grow your
Yeah,
channel.
it's like growing.
There's
it's
absolutely
helping.
like a bunch of it's a way to get ahead on Twitch. It's a way to be successful. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, it's that idea of like rising tide raises all ships, where we
Right.
help promote each other, and that is a reason to do this, I think.
And networking
right? Like
is the big thing on Twitch to help you grow.
For sure. That's a good way to put it. The networking part, like the influx of followers you get after a Save and Raid is huge, and it can be a little tricky for people sometimes to put that into perspective. Being a part of Save and Raid doesn't all of a sudden mean you auto become affiliate or partner or whatever, or you see a massive influx in viewers, but it does.
No, there's
help.
absolutely work that has to be put in aside from that. It's just a tool to make those connections.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I like that is also a part of the reason. Like, I don't think that it's a bad thing at all. I don't think people need to feel guilty of like, oh, I'm doing this for me. I think it's a good idea to do it for a variety of reasons, but yeah, also do it for yourself. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, there is a benefit to altruism in whatever way, shape, or form it manifests itself. And I've spent much of my career in and out of government and politics and public policy in the nonprofit world, and everybody has different reasons for why they want to give back, right? Different reasons for why they want to get involved and help support people. And I've always said it, when all is said and done, I don't particularly, it doesn't matter to me what the reason is, as long as there is a reason that benefits people. And so, whether the reason is because you want to be a part of a broader community, which I think is extraordinarily important, and Toasty said it's also really fun. I think that's important. I think in a world where sometimes we forget that life can be tough, life can be challenging. Having a little bit of fun is an okay thing. Having friends and a network and a community that you're a part of that gets together, that helps others, I think is extraordinarily important. And if what that does is helps build your community so that when that event is done, you've got a broader group of people that are part of your universe, I think that's a great thing. So I think all of those are great reasons. That they're all wonderfully purposeful, and they all make an impact. And so, one of the things that I was struck by, and I continue to be struck by, is the interest that folks have in making sure that we're communicating messages about how to take care of one another, safe messaging. I put on the banner here that if anybody's watching or listening to this, and you're experiencing any kind of crises, make sure you call or text 988. And that we talk about that throughout the event. How important is that to all of you throughout this event, to make sure that people are, one, taking care of themselves, but two, that we're also sharing important, actionable information with people about mental health and suicide prevention?
Oh, you want to take that one?
Yeah, that is an excellent question. It's not an easy question. It is. I mean, it's hugely important. Just to start with, people taking care of themselves. That extends to, or that starts really with the people participating in the event. Being on Twitch isn't always easy because you are in the spotlight. Being on Twitch for something that is difficult to talk about and people might want to talk to you about because you are in the spotlight isn't easy either. So we take, I think, good steps to make sure that people are aware of the fact that they need to take care of themselves first, right? It has happened in the past that people needed to drop out for personal reasons. And
Yeah,
that
we've
is
always
never,
taken the stance like no
yeah,
problem.
that is never
like,
a problem.
no
Like,
questions asked. We will figure it out.
for sure. That's why we're there. That's, the event runs smoothly because we're there regardless of whatever snags happen, and we take care of that. That is not a problem. On top of that, we try to prepare them for certain situations as best as we can. Obviously, we're not professionals, but that's why it's so wonderful that we can work with Save on this. For the past couple of years now, we've had a lot of participants take this. I always forget the name of
The one step ahead.
Yes, the One Step Ahead course, which Save has made available for free for, I think, the past 3 years now for us, for participants, so that they could, even if it doesn't, prepare them for everything, what to me it does, it makes me feel more prepared, whether or not I am. Obviously, still not a professional. This One Step Ahead thing isn't like a miracle work or anything, but it does help people feel more prepared for certain questions that they might get. And those questions do come. We saw that this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think all the streamers, all the people behind the scenes helping streamers in chat, or the organizational team have so far always been very good at, fielding those questions and making sure that happens in a safe way that is responsible, instead of, escalating things or giving the wrong impression. So that's part of what you're asking, I think, is like, how do we take care of that internally?
Yeah.
And then externally, an event like this, it makes complete sense that people will come to it with an interest in what Save does, or with a personal connection to it. And even some people that are at that point experiencing difficulties. And that is, it remains, not the easiest thing, because, and this is important, we are not professionals in that sense, that we, I don't think we are the final connection for some of these people. We cannot always be more than making sure that they, follow proper channels and contact 988, for instance, or I really should know this for the Netherlands because that's where I live. 3 something or other. I apologize. I wanted to bring that up because 988 is obviously not an international thing, I don't think. But yeah, so I think being good at making sure that people, can do more besides coming to Save and Raid is very important.
Well, and one of the things that I want to be clear about is that our job at Save is, we are not crises. We're not crisis counselors. We're not therapists.
No.
Our job is to help connect people, to kind of connect the dots to resources. And so
yes.
I put on the banner here the One Step Ahead training. What's important about that training, it's a reminder that you don't have to be a trained clinical psychologist or psychiatrist to have an impact and help save a life. We talk a lot all across the world about, the amount of money we spend to train people on how to do CPR, right? The idea is we teach people how to do basic life-saving techniques. So if somebody has a heart attack, that you can step in and save their life. And what we're doing with One Step Ahead, and what we do with our suicide prevention training, is to kind of make that the equivalent of CPR for suicide, right? It gives people the basic skills to be able to start a conversation with somebody. And then if somebody says to them that they're contemplating suicide, to give you the tools for how do you respond to that, right? Because imagine if you really didn't have any kind of basic knowledge of how do you respond to that answer to the question, most of us would be pretty terrified, right? So One Step Ahead's goal is to kind of give us all the basic skill set for how can we help save a life by simply asking the question, and when somebody gives you an answer, what do you do with that information? And by the way, Bogle, in the Netherlands, it's 113.
I knew there was a 3 in there.
Call or
Thank
chat 113. So I Googled that where we see.
Thank you.
And so, so our goal here, and this is really important for people who are watching this and people who participate. You don't have to be an expert to save a life. You don't have to be an expert to help someone. Our goal at the end of the day is to give everybody the basic skill sets to be able to weigh in and to help somebody who may be struggling. And so when you've got, call or text 988, that's kind of, I would tell you, that's kind of your default, right? So if you got a friend that you're talking to and you're right next to them and they're saying, I don't know what to do here, it's an easy thing to say, call or text 988. That's an actionable resource that you can give to folks. So those are all important. So, we'll put this information up again about One Step Ahead, but we've now made that free really to everybody. And so don't ever hesitate to just go to save.org and go to our programs. It takes you less than 60 minutes, and it gives you kind of a really basic understanding of how to have that conversation with folks. So as you think about this event moving forward, what are your goals and objectives that you want to see in the future for Save and Raid?
I want to say that I want to see it grow, but I don't know. I think, I don't know how long the event should be in its end state. I don't know if any of us are actually up for making a week-long event with,
1,000
several
hours?
hundred. Yeah. I think 3 days is probably our top for what we're willing to, at this time organize with the team that we have.
I could see us going to a full 3 days. And
Yeah,
I know there's
exactly.
some people who are like, if you can do 62, you should be able to do 69. And I do like that. But yeah, I agree. I think, would we be able to raise more money if we go a week, 2 weeks? There's a word for this, but there's a limited amount of the return of investment, I guess, is not, it doesn't exponentially keep growing.
No.
So yeah, 3 days I think is a wonderful amount of time.
I think the one place that I'd like to see the event improve, grow, is viewers. Amount of eyeballs on the event, the amount of people that are aware of it, the amount of people that tune in to each streamer, because for every reason, it's a good event with a good cause, and more people should see it. One, but it also helps all the participants, grow their communities, their content, and it'll also, just by the amount of people, it'll raise more money for Save.
Something that we've talked about in the past that I would really like to spend some actual effort on for next year is more mainstream recognition, specifically in the realm of video game media, right? The type of media, the type of online media that cares about something like Twitch, them being able to talk about this and have an interest in this, and us being able to reach out to these websites. And I'm just going to name some names like Kotaku, Polygon, right? Like the big websites that could easily talk about this, and would definitely fit within their, I guess, within what they normally talk about anyway. That would be huge, right? That I think that's an actionable thing to work towards, and it would have immense consequences for the growth of the event for sure.
And one of the things that I know that we chatted about when I was out with you all is possibly integrating some kind of roundtable conversation as a part of this event. And I know that Jen is excited and eager to talk to you all about how do we put that together. But bringing some resources and really international experts and others from all across, not just the United States, but across the world, to be a part of a roundtable conversation about kind of what are current best practices, what are some of the issues that people are struggling with. One of the things I will tell you in the 10 months that I've been in this role, there's a lot of opinions about what's the solution, what's the problem, how do we fix all of this. And I think bringing more voices, more diverse voices, bringing people from underrepresented communities to this conversation, I think would be extraordinarily valuable and helpful. And I think would continue to help support the work and the vision that you all have for this.
And having a conversation like that, which is something I've been dreaming of for about 2 years now, just to get the wheels turning in the viewers might also bring us answers nobody's thought of, or new practices or ideas, and I think that's huge. So I'm absolutely like I'll literally stop at nothing to make sure that happens next year.
Yeah, and Twitch's reach is so big. The potential for reach through Twitch is so big that could be very, very good for suicide awareness for the event, and for some of the people within who would join a roundtable discussion like that. And I think I like that you're basically bringing up content, and we've been experimenting with that throughout the years. Like we've had we've had you on, we've had Save on each year to talk about what they do. There's been a year where we had a
game developers
from the games to talk about talk about that stuff. And I really like this idea of like doing 3 days, because it gives us room to have time slots like that without taking up too much space from what the event is trying to do. So yeah, that's something in terms of content that I would also very much like to see happen again. And growth helps with all of that, right? Like it's even, you can already see it in participants, right? We were talking about the fact that year one we were like, nobody done this before, nobody we knew really understood what we were trying to do yet. So we were, going out and getting people to join, which has become easier now that we've shown to be successful. And growth in that regard will also help us reach out to developers, publishers, media outlets, suicide prevention and awareness professionals, stuff like that. So
it absolutely will. And just to kind of drive that point home, like, when this goes from being like an unknown thing, we contacted Valve, right? And they're like, oh, I don't know, we've never heard of any, we don't really know you guys. That's a very different thing than when like Games Done Quick contacts a developer and they're like, oh, we know who you are. Yeah. We are approaching the point where name recognition is going to be a thing for us, and I'm really excited about what that opens up for the event. Yeah, especially going into our 5th year, we're going to be a lot more proactive and trying to get the attention of game devs, building a roundtable.
And that works no, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and like, this last year we actually did have a table discussion. Like we're building our tools and skill sets to make sure that we can do that little by little, seeing what works and doesn't.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And it that works in like multiple ways as well, because it's, there's growth, and then there's the viewers, and these different outlets can get, eyes on this, and that would, it would just be incredibly beneficial.
I think also we've really talked about towards the end of last year was our own self-promotion of the event and like marketing almost, and just being a lot more present on social media channels and posting stuff about the event and like making clips of like, what is the event, and kind of really just moving forward with putting ourselves out there on all social media channels.
It is kind of amazing that we have an event to address the problem of self-promotion so that we're all more comfortable with it. We know we have a way to do it better. And yet when it comes to promoting the event, we have those same stigmas of like, oh, where can I advertise this? Who do I talk to about? Who's going to get mad if I, talk about a thing that isn't something they created on their space?
Yeah. And I will say this, one of the things I will say for us as an organization, it was really important for us to learn what else we can be doing to support this effort, right? I mean, when all is said and done, this is not our event. This belongs to all of you. Our role here is to be in a support position. And so I'm excited by what we've learned in terms of what we can do to help market and support this event, what we can do to promote this. I think we learned some things in this year's experience that I think we're going to build on. We now have a full-time marketing and communications manager at Save, and I will tell you that Josie is excited beyond belief about figuring out how we can even help escalate and raise this event much more visibly with potential partners and things like that. And so, I think there's a lot of opportunity to grow this. That doesn't necessarily mean that, and I've shared this with you guys before, and I'll say it again. The money's great, right? Don't get me wrong. If somebody wrote out a check for $1 billion, it would be fantastic, right? The opportunity to have these conversations, the opportunity to talk about this issue and to share information that is important to people, and do that globally, really is an extraordinary gift to what we're trying to do. And so even as you talk about next year and saying, well, you know what, if we went and added another hour or two of content that wasn't necessarily focused on fundraising, I would tell you we would be delighted and thrilled to be able to do that, because it accomplishes, and I'm going to put this up on our banner here, what we've talked about with all of you, which are really what are our 4 pillars at SAVE, which are education, training, advocacy, and support for suicide loss survivors. So, interjecting some additional content into this. I know that Jen is chomping at the bit, Maddie, just like you, to try to figure out how do we integrate more of that into the program. So I think we'd be thrilled to be able to do that.
Yeah, and that's, we're talking about when we start seriously planning in September, like, there's always something new every year that we've never done before, and that's going to be the thing for this year, or one of them.
Well, so yeah, go ahead, Bogle.
Well, I was going to say, I like that we try different things every year. Not all of them work. Not all of them we have the time or put in the effort that it needs to make successful straight away. But we do keep trying. And I just keep thinking about this idea of growth and the fact that it's so many different things. Because yes, the money's great, and I think it's one of the more useful things to maybe show people that don't know what this is, especially when you want something from them. You can show them the number, right? The number, and that means something to them. But I also think that something like longevity will help us. The fact that we've been doing this for 4 years now is great. Once we've been doing it for 5, 6, 7, etc., I don't think we're stopping anytime soon. That in itself is going to be hugely beneficial to put more eyes on what we're doing, right? Awesome Games Done Quick or Desert Bus for Hope or whatever, they didn't get to where they were within the first 2 years. That takes time. So I think whatever we do, as long as we keep trying and we keep doing new things, is going to be real good.
So let's pivot from 2024. And before we do that, I'm going to put these numbers in here again, Bogle, since you put the effort. So this year, again, recap, 59 streamers, 62 hours, over $26,000 raised. Total raised lifetime since you guys have all been doing this is somewhere around $65,000. Now, can people still buy Save&Raid merch for this year?
Yeah, it's still on the website, mostly because we all decided to take a vacation when we were done organizing it and haven't gotten around to taking it down.
You can still go to Save&Raid and you can still buy some cool merch. And I still need to buy the death-sized mouse pad because I only have my dog mouse pad right here.
I mean, that is a great
that was
mouse
cute.
pad.
Yeah.
I still need to get that. So let's talk about next year. Do you guys have a date yet?
We do. It was February 21st, Friday, February 21st. Exact start time still up in the air. We got to know, how many people sign up. But that would be that Friday.
Yep.
Like the core event would be what?
Yeah, at this
23rd?
point, we're just accepting that the Friday is part of the weekend. So when we say the last weekend of February.
No, that's it. That's always our rule. Is always the last weekend. So whatever date that falls on.
And so do you have a sense yet of what are the 3 options for games, or is that still TBD at this point?
Okay, so we did like basically an exit poll of interest in what games. We know that Diablo 1 and 2 and Tomb Raider were going to be on the vote for next year because there's finally a Tomb Raider game that will, technically work for the event. And Diablo was the one that lost out this past year as the second most popular thing in the actual game vote. So we did this poll, and as of this very second, when I read it out loud, it is now closed. And I reminded everybody to go vote. So there's been a bunch of new votes, and honestly, kind of an upset in what we thought the third game option was going to be.
Then I don't even know what's happening. That's cool.
Yeah. So with 56%, Tomb Raider, we put that in there. Diablo at 48%. We have 3 games at 44% of the vote.
Oh.
Yeah. Which is 2 of them are Star Wars games. So Star Wars Dark Forces and Jedi Knight, that series of games. And Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, which is a very deep RPG.
Ooh. I don't hate that.
In the same vein as that last game, the Mass Effect remastered trilogy is also tied with that.
I'm not surprised by that.
I am, because that one has trailed behind for years and years. And this is over top of games like Age of Empire, the old Duke Nukem, Descent, Deus Ex, Oddworld, Prince of Persia, Stalker, SimCity, Thief, XCOM, and Lego video games were all in this interest poll. So it's a wide variety of different kinds of games. So I don't really know what we're going to do with 3 options for the third vote.
So the third one is still waiting, but Diablo.
Well, now,
okay,
real quick. So if we and people that play video games are going to understand my logic here. On one end, we have Star Wars. On the other end, we have Mass Effect. Mass Effect's made by BioWare. BioWare made the Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. I feel like that's a pretty good sign that Knights of the Old Republic should be the third game. I had to do some logic jump there, but it does seem like the middle ground. Star Wars thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's like where in the right there.
Yeah, that is the middle ground of those three items. So.
I mean, I love those games, so I'm not going to complain.
Yeah, I think that's officially the third game. We'll just go with it because Havoc says.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So at this point, is it safe to say that 2 of the game choices will be Diablo and Tomb Raider?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then somewhere between Star Wars and Mass Effect will be the third game.
Will be the Star Wars Mass Effect game? Yes.
Yes.
Oh, Star Wars Mass Effect, is that the name of the game?
No, it's essentially what that game is. It is a because the same developers made it. It's very similar to Mass Effect. It's what they made before they made Mass Effect. So it essentially is the Star Wars Mass Effect game.
It's basically like, yeah, you want Mass Effect, but you also want that big Disney money. Get Knights of the Old Republic. So let's go with that one. I like it. Oh, we will. Now we have to. We'll make you play it. Obviously, right. This is all. There's a big caveat, a big disclaimer in the sense that we're gonna have to test.
Yeah.
These games. We've tested Diablo. We're fairly certain it works. Tomb Raider is up there for a reason, but especially Knights of the Old Republic, and because I don't think there has been like a modern re-release in a while. We need to test for if it works for the event, if there are huge like thematic issues with it, stuff like that. But I mean, that is a great spread of different games, great spread of genres. It also checks the box of like, we don't want every year to be the same type of game, and they're all wildly different from Half-Life.
They couldn't be more different. Those games could not be more different.
Well, they're not text adventures, but sure.
Well, I mean, an isometric action RPG, a turn-based third-person
they're incredibly different from each other, for sure.
Yeah, very. Yeah. It's going to be an interesting vote. I'm actually kind of excited about it.
So voting. So what's your sense of when is voting going to open up this year?
Is it December 1st? Is that what we did last year?
Yeah, I think usually.
Yeah. And then sign-ups go live on the 15th of December?
Yeah.
So December 1st, those will go up for a vote. It'll be in the organizing Discord.
And without holding you to this, when generally speaking is going to be the opportunity to sign up to play?
It'll be December 15th. It's been that every year.
Basically every year it's December 15th. And then people get about 2 weeks to sign up, which means that the new year we basically start creating the schedule, getting back to people whether or not they're in, and if they can actually make it, and what their availability is and stuff like that. And then the big planning with participants starts, and before that it's us doing testing the games and doing all the stuff in the back end and improving the website and stuff like that. That happens basically beginning of September we start, so we have some time.
Good.
And you said like now you're getting excited for the vote, and that's what I love about having the vote, is that it just for me personally it amps me up and it gets me so excited for something that isn't going to happen for another almost 6 months. Just planning for prepping for the vote and everything. It's just because it becomes a lot more real once you know what those 3 options are, once you get to see what the logo for those options
the logo's big. The second we see the logo from Yoshimitsu, who's done it for the last 4 years, that's the moment where like it becomes real for us. Like, the one that you guys can see off to the side or behind Bogle. I mean, that logo still just, it makes me so excited and happy. He always does a good job, and that's the theme of the year is so important.
It's been better and better each year too. Like, I love all the logos, but this year just the I don't know how it fits within the style of whatever game we're playing each year, plus the little touch of like, it's definitely Save and Raid with the floppy disk. It's wonderful.
Yep.
Well, and what I would say is this, is if you can come up with a logo this year that I can get my wife to agree to allow me to put on as a permanent tattoo, then
how metal do you want it to be? Because Diablo's logo will be awesome in that.
Flames and angels and
everywhere.
This one, but the question is what else can I get away with? So I'm going to have to work on this a little earlier this year than I did.
Yeah.
In terms of Star Wars, it's also what can we get away with. Disney is
that's true,
famously
very litigious when it comes to stuff like that. So
we'll
just have to see.
We can apologize later, right? So
yes. Oh God.
We'll just use like Mel Brooks doesn't care. We'll just use like alt logo from Spaceballs. It'll be fun.
Oh yeah. Oh, I like that. Actually, I like that a lot.
Well, so we are kind of in our last 5 minutes here as we kind of come to the end of this hour of catching up, and again, for folks that are watching this, if you want to learn more about Save, go to thesave.org and our One Step Ahead program. Feel free to take it. It's free. It's not going to cost you anything. Signing up for it, I promise you, isn't going to get you a bunch of solicitation calls or emails from us. And if you want to learn more about Save and Raid itself, go to the saveandraid.org website. We got a wealth of information. You can also click on that and buy merchandise yet from this year's event. Anywhere from T-shirts to really cool mouse pads and I think coffee cups, and what else do you have on there?
Hats, coffee cups, T-shirts, sweaters.
T-shirts.
In fact, if you do that now, you'll technically be the first person to sort of donate to next year's Save and Raid. Campaign for this year has been closed, but like proceeds from whatever our merch, has.
A quick note on how we do merch.
Campaign.
Sorry.
Oh yes. Yeah.
Quick note on how we do merch. What we've always done, or what we started doing last year once we realized we could, was we're going to take down the majority of this past year's merch, but like the most popular item, which obviously is going to be the black T-shirt, we're going to leave that up for sale forever, but it's going to be at like an increased profit, which it's going to be like $10 more than it is right now. And that way, if anybody decides that, they want to buy one of the previous year's things, like it's $10 more donated to Save, at the end of the next campaign. But they'll always be available. Just not all of it, not everything that's there now. It'll just be like a T-shirt and a flag banner thing. I think I've left those up every year. Somebody was collecting them, and I wanted to make sure that they could get them.
I think I am also. So I'm appreciative of that. No, and I think that's great. It's I mean, it has to do with admin a little bit. Like this store can't just keep growing and growing with like multiple things of each year's logo. But also, you know, a little bit of exclusivity doesn't hurt. So, you know, if you have a mug of Save&Raid 2024, not everybody gets that. So
Not everybody
that'd be
gets
awesome.
that. So.
No, they should.
They're all going to be collector's items, and they're all going to
Exactly.
someday you're going to be able to sell them on eBay, and you're going to make yourself millions and millions.
I will say that we also have a general logo, and that merch for that will always be available. And also, I mean, I love our general logo. It looks wonderful.
It's very good.
I think it's very cool. I think all of this is very cool. I think you guys are very cool. I am, you know, this really for me has become, you know, one of those opportunities, not only to have a really cool event that we get to be a part of, but to hang out with really cool people and folks that really care about the world that they live in and the people that are there and helping strangers. I've said time and time again, one of the best things about my job in the nonprofit world is always seeing the kindness of strangers, people who want to help folks that they've never met, that they may never meet, you know, in real life, and having the opportunity to change the world and make it a better place. And the work that you do with Save&Raid, that's what you're doing. You're making the world a better place for people who desperately need it. And so it is a privilege and an honor for us to be a part of this, to be able to get to know all of you and the 59 streamers that were a part of this event this year. We're excited to see where it goes from here. And I know that our team is really looking forward to what else we can do to help support you, what else we can do to help add content to this, and what else we can do to be a part of this project. So any last inspiring words or notes of interest that anybody wants to add before we shut this down for the day?
Well, I was going to say that, you know, Save&Raid already was probably one of the best things I've ever done in my life. But this year was really amazing. And it was just being there with everyone in the US was just one of the more fun things that I've ever done. And I wanted to thank, I've done it before, but I wanted to thank Save and you, especially Eric, for making that possible. So thank you for that. And finally, I at least wanted to ask you, probably not knowing anything about the games we just talked about, when you hear Diablo, Tomb Raider, and Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, you're gonna, I assume, at least try all of them.
I will,
right?
actually.
Yeah. So which one are you most excited about, not knowing anything about it, but just
only because this will date me and make me Star Wars, obviously.
I mean, yeah, that's fair. Yeah, there's no contest there, is there?
None at all. But nobody should feel pressured by my choice.
No. No, of course not.
Eric's going to be in everybody's Discord PMs being like, hey, vote for Star Wars.
Yeah, don't go to the dark side. Vote for Star Wars.
Yeah,
we're going to have to fight because
when you get that PM from Darth Vader saying Star Wars.
I will say Knights of the Old Republics, those games take place about like 1,000 years before the movie, so there won't be any Darth Vader, and I know you're a big fan.
Well, you know what? It's each to their own. I'm excited to figure out what it is and where it is, and I will be trying out each of them. And so it is a pure joy to connect with you all again. I can't wait for our next conversation, and I can't wait for next year's event, which starts on February 21st. Thank you all for joining us today, whether you're joining us online, being a part of this conversation. Thank you all. Go out in the world and be safe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
See y'all later.